Okay, so we're solving quadratics by factoring today. And this is sort of the foundation of everything we're going to be doing second quarter. Okay, so if you can get the hang of this, then second quarter goes a lot better. Solve each equation by factoring. So we are solving for x. And I really love how this has progressed. On Monday, the whole thing comes together. Why do we have to learn to factor? All second quarter, we're spending time solving quadratics and polynomials, polynomial equations. And on Monday, we're going to be doing the same thing we're doing today, but we're also going to be attaching the graph. And so you'll be able to see when we're solving for x, how does that relate to the graph that it has as well, the function graph. And so it's kind of neat how it comes together. So I gave you some instructions here. The first thing we want to do is make sure that our equation that we have is set equal to 0. We must have it equal to 0 on one side. And so when I look at this first equation here, we have x squared minus 11x plus 18 equals 0. And is it set equal to 0? Yes, we're good. Okay, check 1. All right. Then we need to factor. Factor means two things. What are the two things that factor tells you to do? GCF or double bubble, or both, perhaps. Okay? So when you see factor, look for GCF, try to double bubble. Maybe it's both or one or the other. So now we want to, since we're set equal to 0, I have my polynomial in a nice little order here. We have, is there a GCF? No. So we're going to jump right to double bubble. You'll notice I have an equation. Please make sure you're still equal to 0. All right. Starts as an equation. It should end with an equation. First times first has to be the first thing. What times what is x squared? X times x. Then last times last has to be the last thing. What times what is positive 18? Negative 9 times negative 2, is that the only option? No, but that's the best option. Yeah, absolutely. Negative 9 times negative 2. How do you know if you did it right?
Rainbow.
Rainbow. Check the rainbow. Can you check the rainbow in your head? Can you check the rainbow in your head? Yes, you could. Absolutely, you could. But on a test, take the second to just really, really be sure. X times negative 2 is negative 2x. Negative 9 times x is negative 9x. And negative 9x and negative 2x gives us that middle term. So I know I did it correctly. Now, we factored. And the last step is to solve. What we have here is the zero product property. I have something times something else. It's a product, two things being multiplied together. This is the A thingy, and this is the B thingy. So what we're going to do is we're going to set each bubble equal to 0. That's what the zero product property tells us. That if the product is equal to 0, then either part could be equal to 0, and it would make the whole equation 0. So I set each bubble equal to 0, and I can solve for x. How do I get x by itself? Add 9. So 0 plus 9 is 9. So x equals 9. There's one answer. And here, how do we get x by itself? Add 2. So we get x equals 2. 2 answers. This process of setting it equal to 0, factor, and solve is the process for every equation that has a higher power. So x squared, x cubed, x to the 4th, x to the 5th, we're going to learn how to solve all of them. And the process is the same. Set it equal to 0, factor, and solve. Okay? So this is the first step in that process. X squared minus x is equal to 3. What do I need to do first? Set it equal to 0. How do we set it equal to 0? Yeah, I want to move this 3 to the other side. So how do I move it? We subtract the 3. So 3 minus 3 gives me a 0 on that right side. What do I have on the left side then? 2x squared minus an x and minus the 3. So again, they're in our nice order, our sort of a general form, if you will, where all of our ducks are in a row. Okay, what's the second step? Now that it's set equal to 0. Factor. So now we want to factor. Is there a greatest common factor? No, so then we need to do what? Double bubble. Very good. All right, first times first has to be the first thing. What times what is 2x squared? 2x times 1x. And then last times last has to be the last thing. What times what is negative 3? Negative 3 times 1 or negative 1 times 3. I'm going to go with the negative 3. Negative 3 on the inside and the positive 1 on the outside there. How do I know if I did it right? Check. Check the rainbow. So I'm going to double check. 2x times 1 is 2x. And negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3x and 2x is where that middle term comes from, negative x. Okay? Now that we have it factored, what do? Set each bubble equal to 0 and solve. All right, thank you. Set each bubble equal to 0. So I'm going to set each bubble. 2x minus 3 gets set equal to 0. And x plus 1 gets set equal to 0. Set each bubble equal to 0. And then isolate the x. All right, so here I have 2x minus 3 equals 0. How do I isolate x? Add 3. So I have 2x is equal to 3. And then how do I get x by itself? Divide by 2, divide by 2. So I get x equals 3 divided by 2. 3 over 2, 3 halves. How do I get x by itself? Subtract 1, subtract 1. So we get x equals negative 1. 0 minus 1 is negative 1. 2 answers, ladies and gentlemen. Just a little hint. If your problem says x squared, that means that there are 2 x's as answers. Whatever the highest power is tells you how many answers you should have. Like 95% of the time. All right, so it's kind of a clue. Questions so far? These are the same 3 steps every time today, ladies and gentlemen. Set it equal to 0, factor, and then set each bubble equal to 0 to solve. Okay? So here we go. Last 2. A little bit more challenging. We have letter C, 2x squared plus 9x plus 2 is equal to negative 3x squared plus 2x. All right, what's the first step? Set it equal to 0. We need a 0 on one of these sides. I want to take this negative 3x squared and I want to move it over to the other side. I also want to move over this 2x. How do I move them? How do I move the negative 3x squared? Add 3x squared. Add 3x squared. How come I'm putting it under the 2x squared? Because those we can combine. Those are the like terms. They both have the same powers of x. All right. How do I move the 2x? Subtract 2x. Subtract 2x. And again, I'm lining it up because it's x to the first power. That's its like term. So I have negative 3x squared and positive 3x squared is 0. Positive 2x and negative 2x is 0. So I have a big giant 0 on the right. 2x squared plus 3x squared is 5x squared. 9x's minus 2x's is 7x's. And I have a plus 2 there. So now we are set equal to 0. What do we do after we set it equal to 0? Factor. So I'm going to, there's no GCF, so I'm going to double bubble. First times first has to be 5x squared. What times what is 5x squared? Yes, 5x times 1x. Very good. Last times last has to be positive 2. What times what is positive 2? 2 times 1 or negative 2 times negative 1. Those are your only options. I want positive values. So positive 2, positive 1. How do you know if you did it right? Rainbow. Check the rainbow. 5x times 1 is 5x. 2 times x is 2x. 2x plus 5x gives me my 7x in the middle. Okay. And then what do we do? Set each bubble equal to 0. So 5x plus 2 gets set equal to 0. X plus 1 gets set equal to 0. And then we can isolate x. What should I do first to isolate x? Subtract 2, subtract 2. So we get 5x is equal to negative 2. And then divide by 5. Divide by 5, divide by 5. So x equals negative 2 over 5, negative 2/5. And then here we can simply subtract 1. So x equals negative. Again, 2 solutions because it's an x squared equation. Okay, the last one and the most important one. I always say the best for last. 3x squared minus 5x plus 4 is equal to 4. What do we need to do first? Yeah, again, we got to get it 0 on one side, so I'm going to subtract the 4 so that I have a big giant 0. Make sure you have an equation equal to 0. And then I have 3x squared minus 5x and plus 4 and minus 4 also becomes 0. Do I need to write the plus 0? No, I don't. Okay. So the next step is to factor, but you'll notice I don't have a trinomial. But there's another method of factoring which isn't double bubble. What's the other method? GCF. Okay, this one has a GCF. What do they have in common? X. If I take out the x, what's left behind? (3x minus 5). Very good. How do you know if you did that right? How do you check it? Distribute. Very good. Yeah. Excuse me. Check by distributing. X times 3x gives me 3x squared. X times negative 5 gives me negative 5x. All right. Now, we still have the 0 product property. We have something times another thing set equal to 0. So once again, we set each part equal to 0. So that x gets set equal to 0, and lo and behold, it's already solved. Nice. And 3x minus 5 gets set equal to 0. Still set each part equal to 0. I'm going to go ahead and add 5. And divide by 3. Pardon me. I am so ready for fall break. So we get 5 over 3 for one solution and 0 for the other solution. All right, ladies and gentlemen, do you have any questions for me? All right. You shouldn't have any trouble getting your work finished today. Make sure you write the original problem. Set it equal to 0, factor, and solve. All before you leave, don't forget to put your seat number on your paper, please. Write the original problem.